Hey folks, I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is sort of a public service announcement because as somebody with a lifelong disability, I've learned that if people in wheelchairs are unwilling to share information, then nobody will ever be able to learn about what our lives are like. As it says in the title, what I aim to do here is to address some common misconceptions about life in a wheelchair. Please bear in mind that I am not the universal representative for all wheelchair users, and a lot of others may disagree with some of the things I tell you. However, this is my perspective, and I think that a lot of able-bodied people will find it useful. My first piece of advice is that you should never assume that just because somebody is in a wheelchair that they are somehow mentally handicapped. I've lost count of the number of times that I have met someone for the first time only to have them start speaking to me at half speed or much louder than necessary, as if doing these things would in any way be an effective method for combating mental retardation. Just don't do it, because when you assume that someone is mentally handicapped and they are not, you're the one that comes across looking like an idiot. On a related note, if you happen to meet someone in a wheelchair, please, for the sake of all that is good and holy in the world, do not let the first thing out of your mouth be a joke about whether or not they have a license to drive it, or how many speeding tickets they've received lately. I'm not telling you not to say these things because they are grossly offensive or anything. It's simply that these jokes are so overused and we hear them so often that the people who say them come across once again as idiots not worth talking to. This next thing is probably the most common incorrect assumption people make about me on an almost weekly basis. While spinal cord injuries and the loss of sensation that often accompanies them are a frequent cause of the need for a wheelchair, they are certainly not the only cause. For instance, my disability, quadriplegic cerebral palsy, was caused by the fact that my mother suffered with asthma while pregnant with me. The subsequent lack of oxygen severely damaged my brain's motor center, which is the part of it that controls and facilitates movement. It did not damage my sense of touch whatsoever, which means that I am perfectly capable of feeling my legs and every other part of my body just fine. And now I'm going to move on to perhaps the most controversial and contentious aspect of disabled life, namely how people with disabilities should be referred to. In this I speak mainly for myself, and I'm sure that many snowflake activists would vocally disagree with me. But I, for one, have come to detest politically correct euphemisms for disability like differently able and handy capable. Here's the cold hard truth. When I was born with brain damage, I wasn't also granted the ability to fly or shoot laser beams out of my eyes. I consider these linguistic attempts to deny reality to be both stupid and patronizing. And I firmly believe that when children are born with disabilities, it is up to the adults around them to equip them as best as possible for the harsh realities of life in the real world. My final tip might sound counterintuitive because in modern society we are raised to treat the disabled with compassion and to help in every way we can. But unless a disabled person specifically asks you for help, it's better not to do anything at all. Once again, I'll use myself as an example for this. When I get in and out of cars, I have a very specific way of doing it, which, while it might seem awkward, works for me through lots of trial and error. If someone disturbs that process, or worse, has no idea what they're doing at all, they have more chance of causing me to fall over than actually helping me get to my chair. So, generally speaking, when strangers offer help, I politely refuse, as do many other disabled people that I have known throughout the course of my life. I sincerely hope that you found this video to be helpful and informative, and if so, please consider signing up to support me on a monthly basis via Patreon. Monthly support gives my life stability and allows me to plan video releases more efficiently. However, if you appreciate my content but do not want to commit to monthly support, I gladly welcome any and all once-off donations via PayPal. For now, farewell.